Hello there, folks. Patricia here. Today, oh my goodness, when I tell you the last 24 to 48 hours are coming together as if someone said, "Hey, how about what if something else happens? How would you handle that?" I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not asking questions. It's that whole don't ask what else could happen." It's definitely feeling like it's a what else could happen a couple of days, several days in a row. And so this particular video is about basically when someone else's incompetence screws up your day. And we're talking about high levels of incompetence from several months ago that came to a head literally within uh, these previous 24 hours. And it's like, you got to be kidding me. For real? And the timing couldn't have been worse. So, okay, what's the scenario? Well, before we get into that, the other part is I'm definitely gonna not just like why, because it's not even about the why. It's the how to respond and how to address. And I'm gonna give you some really specific things to think about and to note, because if something like that is going on, it's highly likely that you're facing some other situations as well. And so I find in those situations, it's just great to have a little checklist of reminders because you can get caught up in something and lose the thread very quickly. And I do not want anyone to lose the thread when it comes to important matters, whether it's with your family life or whether it's with your work life or business or whatever. Like when other people are screwing up stuff that impacts you, you need to know how to respond and how to do so effectively. And so that's what I'm going to share with you here in this video. So here's the backstory. The backstory is several months ago, as a matter of fact, several months ago, my son, who is uh, thousands of miles away at college, like literally half the continent away, his phone goes dead. And you can't have that, right? The kid is over 2,000 miles away. You can't have a not having a phone. So, and we discovered this happens over a weekend. So we have the insurance, all of that stuff. So I start to initiate that process. And that was torturous in and of itself. I really feel like I need to give tutorials on how to game these AI phone systems because I've gotten really good at it over the years. And I'm not happy about having to get really good at it, but I've gotten really good at it. That's a totally different scenario. But that said, after spending several hours trying to get through to someone to address the matter, because I needed to explain the particulars, which are I am in this state, and my son, who is away at college in a whole other state, 2,000 miles away. Okay? The phone needs to go to him, not me. Even though I'm the primary on the account, I need to make sure that the phone goes to him. There. That was what this that was simple. I thought that was simple. It was not. Because what resulted over the coming week was my son, getting notices. Okay, great, the phone's on the way. Now, mind you, and the person that I was speaking to when they're setting this all up, I repeated this multiple times. Like, here, this is who I am. This is the address this needs to go to. Do not send that phone here because I can't do anything with it here. It needs to go directly to him. Okay. Fast forward, there's been some bad weather, so there's a delay. Cool, no problem. Then it says your phone has arrived. And so I text my son and I'm like, hey, did you get this phone? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Wait another day. Nothing. He's not getting any notices from his uh, campus mail center saying that he's gotten package. Nothing. So I go trying to trace this back to figure out what in the world is going on. So when I then had to get on the phone again to try to get a live person to explain what's going on, because the computer can't help me. There are details that require a human being to process. And I finally get to someone after one other person was trying to say, "Oh well, why don't you just contact the provider directly yourself?" And I'm like, and that would look like fraud, because why would I be trying to interfere with something that came from you? That's a different conversation. I told y'all it was a whole lot. It was a whole lot. I finally get to someone because it's the magic words of "Can I please speak with your supervisor?" that normally help proceed, get things to move in. And I get a person on the phone and I explain to her again. I'm like, here's the situation. So she goes looking, and it turns out that the person who placed the original order put my name on the order after I told him not to, but sent it to my son's college campus with an incomplete mailing address. My son was never going to get this phone. He was never going to get this phone. I was livid. And I said, so I have a problem, because this is now day 5 of my son being without a phone. He is communicating with us through his iPad. One time we'll be thankful for multiple types of electronics. And that's it. So she has some difficulty rectifying it because that's all internal, and I'm like, that I don't have anything to do with that. That's y'all's internal processes. Y'all need to work through that. But she manages to work through it and send the phone, clarifies his name, his address, where it's all supposed to go. This is my account. Cool. Verify that multiple times. Again, she gets it sent. He receives the phone. Now, I am dealing with a college student, and their priorities are not always our priorities. But I'm reminding him, son, you must return the old phone. You have to send them the broken phone, or we're going to get charged this nasty non-return fee. Wait for it. So, there's lots of back and forth with that. He sends the phone back. I did not get the picture that I asked for then of proof that he sent it back, but Mom, I've sent the phone back. It's done. Cool. Now we're going to fast forward to today's problem, which is, while paying my cell phone bill, I notice, I'm like, why is that bill so high? That's not right. The bill is high because we've been charged a non-return fee. And, they have delays on this. So this is 60 days removed from the situation. And it now is showing up on the bill. And I'm livid. Like, what are we doing? So I'm trying to reach my son to verify a couple of things. He's, again, thousands of miles away, so we're not even in the same time zones. But meanwhile, I immediately get on the phone with my cell phone provider, and we go through this. It takes 2.5 hours of being on the phone with 3 or 4 different people for me to get through to someone who finally does the work. So one person finally did the work when I kept saying, you should, I don't have a tracking number. You should have a tracking number though, since y'all sent him the label. We did not initiate this process. Found that, and that is how they determined, well, yes, he did send the phone back. Here's the number you need. Now you need to go back over to this apartment and let them work through giving you the credit. Okay. And that last person, thank God, knew what they were doing. They understood the situation. And he's the one that discovered that what more than likely happened is that first label that went to the wrong place, wherever it went, never got canceled. So it was still showing as if we had not returned the phone off of that email request. He never quite said that, but when he asked me, was there a second label that you received? And I said, yeah. And that's when I realized that's what happened. And for whatever reason, the phone, the one where it really returned, got just kind of buried away. Someone just didn't bother to apply it to the account. And so instead I get charged. So here's the thing. A few things when you are dealing with someone's incompetence, because there's no words for it. Like there are no nicer words for the level of competence from the very beginning, because that person literally screwed up everything that caused me this headache 2 months, 2.5 months later. Wait, maybe longer. Longer. Longer if I'm looking at the dates. Okay? So here's the thing. First of all, you have to deal with the situation immediately. There's no, oh, I'll deal with that later. When you realize there's a problem, you must initiate action immediately. And if for some reason, like you discover it and it's after hours and you can't talk to anyone, then you need to start writing down. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but all the things, all the questions right then so that you can deal with it as soon as possible. Because the reality is, when there's a situation and there's large sums of money involved, and hello, none of us want to be paying for something that we don't have to or shouldn't be, regardless of what it is. Or let's say, it's a situation at work and you're dealing with someone's incompetence that's going to impact your work, your ability to deliver whatever the work product is, all the things. So it doesn't matter whether it's something personal for you or if it's something professional. The solutions are still the same, which is you must deal with the situation immediately. So if it's work related, if it means you need to schedule a meeting to talk with your boss or whoever or with the person, start doing the things, right? Start taking notice of doing it. Do not put things off, because when you put things off, that's when things will spiral downward quickly. I've seen this happen before, and you lose the thread. Like you lose track of something because something else is definitely going to pop off. And like that's just how things work. Something's always going to pop off. There's always got to be a secondary thing that pops off. So be prepared to deal with it immediately. The second point, I told you I had to write notes on this because I was like, no, we need to make sure and spell this out. And I have not been operating from notes. So the second thing is you have to collect your facts and be prepared to repeat them, right? A lot. So this is another reason why it's great to like collect notes if you have notes previously leading up to this, or writing down some things very quickly so that you have the primary facts, the major facts lined out, because you're going to need them and you're going to be repeating them a lot. So what you don't want to be doing is leaving out some part of the story or some part of the facts that matter, because then you're going to have to come back and clean it up. So just jot some notes, collect the facts, collect your times and dates or whatever, all those things, and be prepared to repeat yourself a lot. And if repeating yourself is highly annoying, as it is for me, you woosah, do a yoga stretch, turn on some jazz in the background, whatever you got to do, but just be prepared. The next thing is um, you got to settle in. Be prepared to settle in. If that means you got to be prepared to settle, to be on the phone for an extended period of time, or if it's work related, it means you're going to have to be prepared to be in, back to back meetings. You need to be prepared to settle in, because in these situations, most commonly, there's not a quick resolution. Like, it's not just going to be a 10 or 15-minute call and then it's fixed. If it is, kudos to you. Fantastic. So glad. Most of the time, however, it is not resolved that quickly, especially when there are other people involved, other people who must give authority for something to happen or must validate. If it's work, maybe you have to now involve HR. If it's an employment matter, I mean, there's things. So just be prepared to settle in, um, and know that a quick resolution is not guaranteed. If it is resolved quickly, hallelujah, glory, hallelujah. Say yay and go celebrate. Right? I'm going to congratulate you now for that quick resolution, because that is not the norm. All right. The next thing is really important. The next two are very important. Number one is not number one, but the next one is stand your ground. So if you're keeping track, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Stand your ground, because folks will try and say, oh, well, I can't really do that, and you need to go this. Perfect example. In this situation, I'd gotten through and I realized it. The first person is like, okay, well, I can give you the number too. And I'm like, no, I know for a fact you can transfer. So I'm going to need you to transfer, because when I've tried to call before, it's taking hours just to get through to a live person. So I'm going to need you to help shorten this. And when we got to the next person, who turned out not to be the right person, they too wanted to say, oh, well, I can just give you a number. And I'm like, no, I'll gladly wait. The first person, they can drop off the line. I'm fine. But I need you to transfer me to the next person. And I know for a fact, I was still on hold. I was on hold. This person was having to be on hold with me, which is why I knew they would try to help make it happen, because I'm like, I need y'all to feel a little of this pain that I'm feeling right now. And so that matter took a while before I get to the next person. And I stood my ground on that. I'm like, you will not be giving me a phone number. I will not be dialing in randomly trying to find the next person, or excuse me, to find a person. So you're going to validate that I actually get to a person, because you're going to stay on the phone with me. And whatever the situation is, there may be something, it may not seem like that's a big deal. It is when you're already on the phone for, 2 hours, right? And starting from scratch, and each phone call just wastes more time. And so if it's a situation where, let's say, you're dealing with something with work or another family situation, stand your ground on the basics, whatever it might be, right? If it's well, we can let that go till next week. No, actually, we cannot. So can I get on the calendar? Like, what's the schedule? Who's going to be in the meeting? We're going to schedule, like, whatever the thing is that needs to happen to take it to the next level. Stand your ground on it. Because if this situation has risen to the level of causing you great inconvenience, a lot of money, a lot of time, a huge mistake has been made because of someone else's failure to follow their own protocols, or to, take the action they were supposed to, there's no putting it off. Like, it's way more important to go ahead and let's get this resolved, or at least get it instigated as quickly as possible. And we're going to put some firmness around that, right? We're going to make this a little bit solid, not well, maybe we can schedule a meeting about it next week. No, let's schedule the meeting right now. And so that we know, and who all is going to be involved. As you can tell, I get a little hardcore about these things. And because I've dealt with them for so many years, both in personal situations, I really hate dealing with them when it comes to service providers and stuff like that. It drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. I have no tolerance. My tolerance is really, really low. Because I absolutely will settle in. And I do the last thing, which is I start documenting. And I highly recommend that you do that. Dates, times, who you speak with, what were the facts, all of that, because that matters. Do not rely on your brain, because at some point you're going to get really, really aggravated, and you will forget key facts potentially, or that you spoke with someone. So it's the documentation, writing it down. It sounds all formal in a business. No, this is personal as well. Whatever, you grab a pen and a piece of paper and you write it down. You just write it. You just start writing. Date, time, name. Date, time, name. Call lasted. You don't have to write that part down necessarily because our phones are so high tech now. It will tell you how long you were on the phone, but keeping track of those things, all of that matters greatly. And that is how I get a resolution to my particular situation this time, but not just this time, most of the time. That is pretty much the little cadence I run through in order to make sure that I can get something taken care of. And it's like, well, why are you so pressed about it? Well, number one, I was paying a fee. There was a fee on my bill that that wasn't supposed to be there. It was their mistake, and I needed it addressed because we were fixing, we're fixing to be traveling for graduation and all kinds of things. I don't need a problem with our cell phone hanging over my head because of somebody else's mistake. You see? Because who knows what could happen within that time. They're like, oh, well, you're late. I'm late because of a charge that doesn't not supposed to be on my bill. So whatever energy you have to drum up to address those situations, do it. It's not always, well, generally, definitely not pleasant. It can be downright annoying, and uh, it's very empowering to step up and be like, let's take care of this business right now. And so that's, those are my tips and strategies for dealing with high levels of incompetence, low levels of incompetence in general. When it comes to some, situations, whether it's something personal, whether it's something professional, just keep those things in mind. And I'd love to hear from you. And like, what are some of your examples of when you had to deal with some incompetent situation or person and how you resolved it? I'd love to hear that from you. Meanwhile, if you would please hit the thumbs up and like button and subscribe and push this out and share it with others who might need to hear a little bit about having taking things into your own hands and being empowered in your actions, because this is absolutely one of those conversations, so that you can stand up for yourself, for your situation, whatever it might be, to know that you can deal with it in a way that's completely professional, that you don't have to get into insulting people, but you can be firm and committed and let people know that you're absolutely serious about addressing this matter. Okay? So there we are. Meanwhile, I hope that you will celebrate who you are each and every day in all the ways. And remember that whether it's great or small, you absolutely deserve to be able to walk in your power. And I encourage you to do that each and every day. All right, take care, and we will see you in the next video.